Good morning to you all. Welcome back. I hope you all are safe and sound and enjoying your holidays. But now it's time to come back to our studies. So let's begin with our first class today. Today, I'm going to teach you something which is very common and you have been studying from class 6. But as you know, as the class increases, the content also increases. So let's begin with our first chapter in biology, that is cell. The first thing which comes to our mind is, what is a cell? Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Now, what do you mean by structural and functional? Structural means all the structures in our body from head to toe, be it our eyes, be it our hand, be it our fingers, everything is made up of cell. Right? Now, like for building a house, we need bricks. Without bricks, we cannot have a house completed. Similarly, without the cells, our body cannot be made. By joining the bricks, we make a wall. From the wall, it becomes a room, and connecting many rooms together, we build a house. Similarly, we have cells. Cells join together to form tissues. Group of similar cells form tissues. These tissues, same kind of tissues together form organ. Organ performing the same kind of function forms the organ system. And when many organ system comes together, works together, we get an organism or an individual right? An organism can be called as an individual. This is known as the cells to tissue, tissue to organ, organ to organ system, and then to organism is known as hierarchy of development. This is called as hierarchy of development. Right? Now, who discovered this cell? One more point. This is clear why it is called as the structural unit of life. Point comes why it is called as functional unit of life. You have studied from class 6 onwards that organisms can be unicellular as well as multicellular. Now, even a single cell can perform all the functions, be it respiration, be it nutrition, digestion, or reproduction. A single cell is capable of performing all these functions. So, it is known as the functional unit of life. Now, who discovered this cell? Cell was discovered by Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke was the first one to discover cell. How did he discover cell? He discovered cell in a cork cell, in a cork plant, cork cambium. What is cork? It is a bark of a tree in which when he studied it under microscope, he found honeycomb-like structure. Now, what is this honeycomb-like structure? Honeycomb-like structure is just like a beehive, right? It is like a beehive. It's like a compartment. This is called as honeycomb-like structure. He named the structure as cellulae, which means compartments. Cellulae meaning compartments, right? So, From that, we get the word as cell. Now, how could we see the cell? He saw the cell with the help of microscope. What is, you know what is a microscope? But the microscope which you see today is not the same kind through which Robert Hooke discovered the cell. There are different kinds of microscope. First came the first microscope through which Leeuwenhoek was the one who discovered the simple microscope. Who discovered it? Leeuwenhoek. So, who discovered the simple microscope? Leeuwenhoek discovered the simple microscope. This simple microscope was having only one lens. Right? The microscope which we are using today in our biolab is the compound microscope. In case of simple microscope, we have only one lens, so the magnification is very, very less. When we say the magnification is very, very less, means the structure which we are seeing could be seen maybe 10 times or 25 times larger, not more than that. Then came Robert Hooke. He studied cell with the help of a compound microscope, the microscope which we are using nowadays in our biolab. This compound microscope was having two lenses, one near your eyes known as the eyepiece, right, and the other one is near the object to be viewed, which is called as objective, right? So the compound microscope magnifies the thing to be viewed twice, one through the eyepiece and the other time through the objective. So we can view a much larger image through of the object to be seen, much larger, and very minute details can be studied with the help of a compound microscope. Through this, Robert Hooke was able to study the cell. But as science has progressed, so has the microscope. So we have now different kinds of microscope too. Now we can use light microscope or electron microscope. Light microscope is used in labs where we use ordinary light to focus on the wall. The image is focused on the wall and the magnification is good or best. It is 1500 times more than that of a compound microscope. In case of electron microscope, the electron does the work as you have studied in chemistry, the cathode ray experiment. Similarly, a beam of electron is passed through the object to be seen and we get a photograph of the image, and we can obtain that photograph on a screen, or if we want to take it as a photograph, we can keep it, and this is known as electron micrograph. What is it called? It is called as electron micrograph. Fine. Now we come to the main part. This is cell. Once cell was discovered, there were many theories which we came to understand about cell. But the major theory which we study about cell, which we call as cell theory, was given by Sheldon and Schwann and was modified by Virchow, right? So, cell theory was given by M.J. Sheldon and T. Schwann and was modified by Rudolf Virchow. The cell theory states, number one, the first point which we have already discussed, that cell is the structural and functional unit of life. All cells arises from pre-existing cell. This was added omnis cellula cellulae. This was added by Rudolf Virchow. Other points of the cell theory are that all living organisms are composed of cell. All cells are basically alike. They are same in their chemical composition and their metabolic process. And whatever the organism is doing, whatever functions the organism is performing, is a result or is a result of the combined activities of all the cells, maybe a single cell or group of cells like tissues. Right? Now, when we are discussing, we have discussed about cell theory. Now, when we are discussing about cell, now when we are talking about cell, we can divide cell in variety of ways. Right? Number one division can be unicellular, that is made up of single-celled animals, and multicellular, that means made up of many cells. But this is of, we are talking about, when we talk about unicellular or multicellular, we are talking about an organism, right? But when we talk about cell can be classified as prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. The word prokaryotic. Pro means primitive. Pro means primitive. And karyon means nucleus. So, prokaryotic means the cells which are having primitive kind of nucleus. Primitive nucleus means the nucleus is not well developed. These cells generally do not have a well-defined nucleus. Neither do these cells have all the cell organelles. Nor do they have membrane-bound organelles. They are simply a single membrane-bound structure with a single DNA unit or a RNA unit as a genetic material. That is why they are called as primitive nucleus. Now, when we are talking about DNA and RNA, you need to know the full form of DNA and RNA, and you need to know that DNA and RNA are the genetic material. That means they transfer they are the hereditary material, they carry on the hereditary material. The characters which pass from parents to offspring are carried either by the DNA or by the RNA. So DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid and RNA stands for ribonucleic acid. In case of prokaryotes, that means in case of primitive kind of cell, we generally have RNA as the genetic material. RNA carries on the information from the parents to the offspring. Whereas if we talk about eukaryotic means U stands for new. New karyon, as I have told earlier, is the nucleus. That means new kind of nucleus, that is the nucleus which is having membrane. They contain all the membrane bound structure. Nucleus is proper membrane bound and the nucleus is having group of DNA, set of DNA, and it is a complex structure. So cells can be prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Cells differ in number. As I told you, they could be unicellular, they could be multicellular. Their shape can vary. They could be spindle shaped like our muscle cells, spindle. They could be spindle shaped, that is our muscle cells. You have studied they could be elongated, long structure like our nerve cell. And they could be branched like our bone cells, osteocytes. Osteocytes are branched. So the shape of the cell could vary from structure to structure. Similarly, if we talk about the size of the cell can also vary. If we talk about the smallest cell, then the smallest cell is mycoplasm or PPLO. Mycoplasm or PPLO, that is pleuropneumonia like organism. Whereas if we talk about the largest cell, then the largest cell is the ostrich egg. It is the ostrich egg. So what we have studied in this module, we have studied who discovered cell, what are the different kinds of microscope. One is your simple compound electron microscope and light microscope. We have studied about the cell theory. Who gave the cell theory? What does the cell theory says? And we have studied about the different kinds of cell, eukaryotic, prokaryotic, size of the cell, the smallest cell, the largest cell, longest cell, that is the nerve cell. Next module, we will come and study about the cell organelles. There are different kinds of cell organelles present inside the cell. What are cell organelles? To brief you, cell organelles are the parts of cell. Like in our body, we have different organs. We call them as different organs. Similarly, the organs within the cell, within a single cell, are very small, very minute, and we call it as organelle. We have to study the detailed structure of each and every organelle. We will study about the function of different organelle. For now, we end up here. Have a nice day.